problem that will not go away unless we see a light on it and unless we really do something about it in a major way. And so, again, I am very, very proud to be a part of this process.
College football, of course, is one of the biggest sports in this country. It's a huge industry. Some of the highest paid public servants in the nation are actually college football and men's basketball coaches. This is an important public policy issue, and for many of the reasons that Congressman Rush has already laid out, there are compelling reasons for us to be taking a look at the issues today.
It's become increasingly clear to me that the combination of issues and challenges facing intercollegiate sports have reached a tipping point that called for renewed congressional attention.
I'd like to be clear about this. I'm not here to try to justify or in any way defend my behavior. That's not my purpose here. I am, however, committed to making my experiences available to people like yourselves and others who are committed, people with influence who can actually bring on change. So the bottom line is that I'm very grateful for this opportunity so I can in some way be a part of the solution for a problem that clearly I was a participant of for many years. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Judge.
I am very furious that the University of Oklahoma has stripped my son Kyle of his college basketball dreams, his education, and his health. When a university refuses to submit a medical hardship waiver, there's nothing my husband and I can do.
It's very upsetting, hearing this story. And the NCAA is prohibiting athletes from having agents for one reason or another, and what they're doing is they're denying professional representation. Dan Wetzel, one of your colleagues, recently wrote that having professional counsel is protection, not professionalism. If this was a player in the NFL or wasn't under the control of the NC2A, and you had professional counsel, you had an agent, someone who was an advocate representing you, the very first thing that would happen is you would get a third-party and independent medical opinion. Someone who is completely detached from the university and providing you with the information that you would need and that your son needs to make educated decisions. So it's a travesty, it's very disappointing and very upsetting, and I'm sorry you had to go through that, and something clearly has to change with this. In a position to fill in for that need, I did so. And as long as that need exists, and that need is not addressed, then they're going to continue to fail in their efforts. The $2,000 number that I know is going to be discussed quite a bit today, that was mentioned and provided here for these athletes, when we know
the new stipend.
I'm sorry?
The new stipend.
Right, the new stipend of $2,000, when we know that the amount of the shortfall is in excess of $3,000, that's just like throwing a guy on a 10-story burning building a 3-story ladder. It makes absolutely no sense. As long as this continues to go on the way that it is, then they are going to fail miserably in their efforts to stop people from preying on these players' needs. It's their responsibility. There's no reason why these athletes should be living in poverty. And a few points that I think would be very valuable for everyone here and Congressman Rush to hear that I think are critical. One is that sports agents are only one part of the problem. Financial advisors, marketing people, and runners that are working to secure the business for any of the aforementioned groups are equally, and in some instances, more of a threat to the student athlete and maintaining their eligibility. Runners, a term that's been defined incorrectly for years, they're not just bag men who are dropping off wads of cash. They act as a conduit and work as a subordinate to deliver access and/or information to the entity that they're running for. Using that definition of runner, that would mean that runners can come in the form of an active player. Runners can come in the form of a retired player, a trainer, a coach, and Second point, coaches have agents, and some of their agents represent players as well. This is a clear conflict of interest and becomes a convenient excuse for an agent to justify circumvention of the rules and/or laws under the auspices that they need to cheat in order to compete, wanting to level the playing field in the very competitive world of recruiting athletes. Third point, that the school compliance people are basically handcuffed. The logo on the top of their paychecks belongs to the university. It's against the self-interest of the compliance department to find wrongdoing. In my nearly 20-year career, half of which was spent providing improper benefits, I never met a compliance person, let alone had seen one. They're invisible, and I believe that's by design. Compliance people are victims of an unrealistic structure of college sports. They're paid to be firefighters as opposed to police officers. The schools and the coaches do not want them to find anything wrong, but if they do, they want them to get rid of the problem, put it out like a fire, don't find the cause, and prevent the next one. It is time that the NCAA, member institutions, acknowledge that an enforcement model reliant on athletic department self-monitoring has failed and will continue to fail. Last point is accountability is required all around. This past year, the head coach at Alabama, Nick Saban, referred to agents as pimps. While keeping up with that analogy, when the authorities sweep the streets of the prostitutes, they bust the pimps, they bust the hookers, and they bust the johns as well. All parties that break the law are held accountable. Many of the recent college football scandals centered around rule violations that had absolutely nothing to do with sports agents. Coaches, boosters, and even the head of the Fiesta Bowl made headlines last year for activities that are clearly less than flattering. The system of college sports needs to evolve, and enforcement of whatever rules remain need to evolve as well. I took my daughters. It was a wonderful opportunity to come to Washington, D.C. from Los Angeles. My family joined me here. And I took my daughter Sophie and Sydney to the new Martin Luther King Memorial. It was absolutely beautiful, and we were able to see all of these wonderful quotes by Dr. King. And one that wasn't there, but came right away into my mind thinking about what we're doing here. Dr. King had said that the time is always right to do what's right. Well, I submit humbly that now is that time. Thank you.